Good morning, and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hello, my dear.
Thank you so much for holding the fort down last week while I was away.
Yeah.
It was fun to Skype in with you, sort of.
Okay.
I
Did
was
you have
on
a
the
good
phone.
trip?
It was a great trip. It was amazing. I met so many families. I met so many therapists. It was really wonderful. I've come back with some version of the plague.
Right, pink eye.
Well, I don't know if it's pink eye or just that it's allergies or whatever, but I'm
Okay.
staying as far away from everyone as I possibly
Okay.
can.
Right, I'll
And
try
no
not
one
to touch
and
you.
I'm not touching doorknobs, and we've wiped the studio down with wipes. You have no idea what we did to try to make it so that I think it's just allergies.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be a lot worse if it,
Right.
But anyway, I get so paranoid about that because I hate it if somebody is like with pink eye and they're all like, yeah, I got pink eye, but you're like, what? I want that? I don't want
Well,
that.
I'll try to put a
Yes,
ball around you and not come
I
near.
consider a bubble here, and
Okay.
I'm wearing my glasses.
Great,
and
great. Well, it's great to
anyway.
hear you and Dr. Evelyn in the last hour. Some very good information covered there.
She's lovely.
Yeah.
I always enjoy time with her, and of course, we always enjoy it when Dr. Grampichet is here.
Uh-huh.
But that can't always be possible.
No.
And so, but really fabulous to have her here today and answering questions. And we've got some great guests today. But
We
first, we've got
do.
some in the
We
news.
do. We have great guests in the studio, and we'll be coming back after In the News with them. But first, we have a story about that findings suggesting that autism anxiety have similar roots in the brain.
Yeah, and if you think, this didn't surprise
Not me
right?
at all. Because
I
my
always
son suffers from severe anxiety.
Well, and I always want to know which comes first, the chicken or the egg, and they're saying in this study, if you have an infant who seems anxious, that could be a warning sign.
Right. Now, what is an infant that seems anxious, though? I'm wondering, does that mean more crying, more? Because it's hard to say what
Yeah.
exactly is anxiety in an
But
infant.
I have been around babies. That's true, and it's hard to say, but I've been around babies and sometimes twins, and where you do notice that there are some kids that if a noise happens, they're very sensory reactive, that they'll scream or cry or whatever, and that other babies that are just those, I like to call them the blob babies that are just along for the ride.
Right.
A lot of times these are the second babies that they, they're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
They're just happy and nothing
easy
seems to
baby.
faze them. But there are kids who have more anxiety, and to me that makes me think there's stuff going on with that kiddo that's more than that, and maybe the more than that is the autism. I don't know.
Well, it's something to look out for, and this study sort of proved that point that these conditions, definitely mean a proclivity to autism.
Yeah, it's as they say here, a heightened risk of autism, and so I'm always about the preemptive strike anyway.
Right.
And the fact that all kids need to be screened for autism. And I know that we've battled a lot and talked about on the show that about a year ago, the people who decide the norms said they don't think that we should pre-screen all kids. Seems, and honestly, if I had more time, I would just go lay down in front of the building of the people who decided that and, pour pig's blood on myself or something to say,
Well,
hey, that's
if
wrong.
my pediatrician had screened my son at age 2, we would have known he wasn't, there was not even warning flags that went up till age 3, and I knew for a year before
Right.
that. So
All children need to be
all
screened.
children need to be screened,
And this is
pediatricians
one
need to
more
do it.
thing that pushes parents to say something to the pediatrician
Yes.
and say, I want you to look at my child for this. And remember, none of us wants that. None of us wants to do that ever. But know that if you do pre-screen and pre-screen earlier, you will get access to treatments earlier, which statistically has been shown to mean that you won't need more services later.
Right.
So you'll be cutting things shorter and helping your kid for a better outcome if you do that.
And here's another story about chances of greater chances of having a child with autism. Hello, my mouth's not working. Women with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, may be more likely than others to bear a child with autism, according to a study from the University of Cambridge's Autism Research Center.
And they say that 1 in 10 women of reproductive age suffers from this, and that often they're not taken as seriously by their healthcare providers to do something. And if you think about this, we've had Dr. David Berger on the show before talking about the success that he has had in the P2I study, that women come into him who already have a child on the spectrum, who maybe are having some health issues, could be this, could be a lot of other things, and that they came to him in the beginning and said, can you help me to feel better? You've made my kid feel better. He helped those moms to get better, and they were taking data on it and realized that those women statistically weren't having the number of children with autism that they should have had according to the norms of the rest of society.
Right.
And as they looked further into it and started a study, they found that if you took care of health problems like these, like polycystic ovarian syndrome, that those women weren't as likely to have a child with autism.
Right.
By huge numbers, weren't
Right.
as likely. So I suffered from polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Oh, did you?
I absolutely did. And what I found was difficult is that you get diagnosed with this, right? But the doctor acts like, well, that's just a thing.
And then the
there's not
treatment,
much
though,
to
is to
do.
remove the polyps or the cysts on the ovaries,
Well, but
right?
almost nobody does that.
Okay.
Other people have hormone treatments. There are different things that you can do. And there are different dietary things to look at, but doctors tend to just be blasé about this. I think with this new caution and this new warning, I want to remind women who are of reproductive age that your health is your health is your health. If you have something going on and you're planning on having a child, whether it's polycystic ovarian syndrome or something else, see somebody like Dr. Berger who can get you as healthy as possible, because it makes a difference.
Yeah,
Not only in autism, but the chance of having a child who has juvenile diabetes
right,
or other
everything.
things. Yeah.
Everything.
So, and that's coming to us from Healthline. I want to say that Spectrum News was the first story about anxiety, so if you want more information about those.
Our viewers can look that up.
But we always like to end on some more upbeat things.
Right. And we've got 2 really upbeat stories. You have an article, I don't have it here with me, about the father whose daughter was not allowed to participate in a program. And so what he did was, necessity is a mother invention. He came up with it himself. He's an archaeologist.
Yeah.
And so what did he do, Shannon?
He said, let's start this camp, this experience, and allow children to come along with archaeologists, and we'll have some things for them to dig up and to learn about archaeology. As you said, necessity, the mother of invention. You know, what I love about this is that the dad could have spent the whole summer railing at the summer camp that didn't want his daughter.
Exactly. And his daughter is 19 with not only autism, but she's blind.
And instead he said, okay, if it doesn't exist, then I'm going to make it, and made that opportunity for other families.
And that's coming to us out of Florida, correct?
Merritt Island, Florida.
Is there a date for, I think there's a date for when certain things are happening on the second page,
October 20th.
Right.
They will welcome 150 families to Sam's house at Pine Island for the big event. Free activities, artifact excavation, spear throwing, talking to paleontologists about fossils. If you're into that kind of thing, this is heaven.
Yeah, this sounds like something every kid would love.
Absolutely. They love to dig things up and talk about dinosaurs and dinosaur teeth, and absolutely love it. The event welcomes kids 5 to 17 and adults 18 to 22. And they can be enrolled in school, including homeschoolers. Okay. Isn't that nice and lovely? And there's also, if you go to Archaeologists for Autism, their website, Archaeologists for Autism, you can register for the event and fill out the application. Lovely, lovely thing. Love that dad getting it done,
Love
right?
the dad, right. We have another wonderful story coming to us out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And about an employee at a grocery store in Baton Rouge who let an autistic teen help him stock the shelves. He noticed the young man, Jack Ryan Edwards, watching him and said, come join me in doing this.
What I loved about this all started unfolding last week while we were on the road, and I wasn't tuning in to Facebook, but I had people messaging me saying, Shannon, are you watching this? Are you seeing this? And what happened was that this young man who works at this Roos's store saw this person standing there who was so interested in what he was doing. He tried to start a conversation that wasn't really successful, but then said, "Here, you want?" And there's video of it. You guys can.
Yeah, they posted actually. Jack Ryan's sister posted the videos to Facebook. So that went viral.
Right,
and people started watching.
And then as this whole thing grew and it continues to flourish, I was missing it all, except I was getting the updates from people. And so first it was this video, and it was just a lovely thing that this young man said, "You want to help? You can help." And so you see him taking great care to put the orange juice in the right place, in the right lineup, and the worker is saying, "You're doing a great job, dude. This is fabulous. You're helping me out." But the dad is talking to the worker while he's doing it and saying, "So, do you go to school?" And the young man says, "No, I'm hoping to go back to college. Got to figure out how to pay for it, so on and so forth." So what has happened as a result of this is so amazing to me, that the dad went and started a GoFundMe for this young man to be able to go back to college, because it touched him so much.
And it's raised $120,000. And then not only that, a local credit union donated a car to the family so he would have a means of getting to
Gotta love that. But then in the interim, the store now has offered the young man with autism a job.
Right. So look at all these things that were started by this one act of kindness.
And when people say that they don't like the internet, I just need all of us to remember that things like this weren't possible before the internet. To make something like that a good deed, he was just being a good person, and somebody just happened to catch it, and isn't that a lovely thing? And it made us all feel better. And people all around the world agreed this young man should get to go to college, and just made it possible.
Right.
And by him doing that, he changed the world in so many different directions. But that young man now has a job, and this grocery store has an appreciation for 2 of their employees that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right.
Love it.
I know.
Don't we love it? Good story.
Very
All right.
inspirational. Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be back with someone who's been on our show before, Ginny Palmietto from the Love and Autism Conference.
Love talking with her.
Yes, we're going to hear about, she's got some very exciting things coming up this year.
How love is flourishing on the autism spectrum.
Okay, so we'll be back with Ginny.
With us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, you're back at Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman, and you're at the Allergy-Friendly Cooking Show. And we have kind of an interesting surprise. I've brought my sister. That's surprise number 1.
Yeah. The fact that I came is surprise number 2.
I know, right?
Hi, Jamie. Hi.
And we're doing one of my favorite recipes, an ode to Sue, a Taka supermom. She created a kid-friendly sushi recipe for her son, Zach. So hi, Zach. Thanks for allowing us to borrow your lunch recipe, because it's really awesome. So we can't wait to show it to you. First, what I'm going to do is we're going to cut up some of these things so we can get ready. I'm going to take an organic cucumber and just make some slices of this that we're going to use in a little bit to add some extra textures to the seaweed roll that we're going to do. And I'm just making long slices so we can place this in our sushi later on. And then I got, of course, a nitrate-free, gluten-free, fantastic sausage. Love this. So this is a barbecue chicken that we had last night. It was pretty awesome. Make sure that I have a little bit of everything here for the sushi roll. So now let's make the sauce. Use my gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free soy sauce. And of course, my most favorite thing in the world is crushed ginger. Love this stuff.
I thought that was garlic at first.
No, you can actually do
it that way.
this. Ginger is just such a blessing for digestion. So I just made this quick sauce, super easy. So here's my cooked rice. This rice is very, very sticky. I use this really great little water and apple cider vinegar combination just to keep my hands. That's what the sushi chefs do, is a little trick, which is like pretty big.
Use for apple cider.
I know, and I love that stuff.
So good for you. So all I'm doing is just keeping my fingers a little bit damp so the rice doesn't stick to my fingers. And we're just pushing this all through. If your kids don't like green, not a problem. You just flip it over. So that way we can hide the green stuff from our kids and it will be rice out as part of the recipe. So let's have a little fun. We're gonna do my favorite, avocado. And if you're sending this to lunch with your kids, you may want to put a little extra of the lemon on there because it will get brown. And I even have sensory issues for the brown stuff. So there we go. There's our avocado. So the next thing I'm going to do is do a couple of the cucumbers. I know, it's so easy and it's so cute and we're going to eat healthy.
You're gonna make one for me for lunch today.
Yes,
right?
you can have one for lunch. Now comes the fun stuff, the sausage.
So you could put anything in here.
Anything.
Jeez.
Anything. It's really just the simplest thing in the entire world. And then, so, you know, it's sushi kids can eat, and I wasn't joking about that. So I may squeeze a little more extra lemon on there. And now I'm going to take my little sausage, or sauce, excuse me. Just put a little bit on there so we're coating. About a teaspoon. Doesn't it look good? You can get this at any cooking food store. So this is just the little sushi roller, which I think is fun. So I'm going to put this underneath, and I'm going to start to roll. So you got to watch how you go through and roll this. So the biggest thing is to try to get it compacted enough. So when all is said and done, we can hide the green stuff. So again, with cutting sushi, you want to make sure your knife's really sharp. And we also want to get it a little wet because that way it would make it easier for cutting. So I'm going to just cut off the ends. It's so funny. These are our taster bites, Jamie. You can tell me how these taste. Go ahead and try it.
Yum.
I know, right?
See?
And your body kind of goes, wait, I'm waiting for seafood. But you've got awesome sausage, chicken. You've got a full serving of vegetables. And is that good? Yeah. Yum? You're not lying? You're not lying? Okay, good.
I like more sauce.
You like more
We
sauce?
can even put wasabi in there if you like.
Yeah, if, you know, I think the wasabi, the issue.
Oh, we're making it for kids, sorry.
Yeah, we are making it for kids. This is just a fun way to introduce more foods to your kids and notice they're eating seaweed. We'd love to hear from you. If you have an idea or you want us to convert a recipe, let us know. Jamie, thanks for being my fabulous Vanna White. You can reach us at autismlive@gmail.com or Facebook, facebook.com/autismlive. Or we have thousands of recipes on Taka now. So, you know, go check out the Taka website and let's get cooking. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get.
And we're back. And as promised, we have Jenny Palmietto from the Love and Autism Conference that you do every year. And Jenny is a licensed marriage and family therapist and the clinical director of the Family Guidance and Therapy Center in Southern California, correct?
Yeah.
And soon to be in Texas?
That's right, soon to be in Texas.
Okay.
We have
And-
a lot of viewers in Texas, I'm sure.
Cool.
And so you're going to be primarily based out of Austin.
And Elgin, Texas, so
Okay.
Bastrop County,
Very, very
pretty
cool.
close to Austin.
Fabulous. Let's talk a little bit about, we've got these gorgeous t-shirts that you brought for us, and you've got your conference coming up. When are the dates this year? I love
October
that.
13th and 14th, and these are actually our classic tees, and our members, our Love and Autism members, receive this as a gift when they join the membership.
What a fabulous, fabulous thing. They're gorgeous, and they're soft.
They're soft.
I love good soft
We
t-shirts.
really went a lot of rounds because of the sensory. We
Yeah.
want a positive sensory experience
Yes.
with the product. So
Right.
we kept reprinting and feeling and washing and making sure that it had it could be wearable by our tribe.
Absolutely.
Well, tell us more about what the theme is this year and actually where it is. We said Southern California, but where in
Yeah.
Southern California?
We do Love and Autism in San Diego,
Okay.
and our theme this year is beautiful, beautiful, and it really is about authenticity, living as exactly who you are, showing up in the world as nobody but yourself, and when when we as parents allow our children to do this, when we allow ourselves to do this, when we cultivate a community that allows for authenticity, it just grows love and self-love. So, and I just, when we were aligning our speakers, I just thought, wow, these people are kind of embodying authenticity. And so then we came to this idea of be beautiful, because when we are ourselves, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, and if you can't love yourself, you're not ready to go out into the world and love other people and be loved by other people.
It's this, it goes both ways. When we receive love, we're able to love ourselves. When we love ourselves, we're able to show up for other people, open for loving relationships. And so
let's talk about some of the
presenters. We just I'm really excited about this year. We have a little bit of a beachy theme going on. I've got my new shirt, and that's really inspired by Clay Marzo and Jill Marzo, pro surfer and soul surfer. Clay, and he's been my favorite surfer for about a decade, and
he's on the spectrum.
He's on the spectrum, and you guys were just talking about anxiety, and he definitely experiences anxiety. And I think that so often, knowing so many people on the spectrum, there's very few that say, no, anxiety is not a thing for me.
Right.
Exactly.
Or hasn't been a thing for me. So Clay and his mom will be doing, we'll be talking about living their best lives. And what I really like, I always love a parent-child combo to talk, because the parent-child relationship is so critical, and it doesn't end, right? Ever. It's a lifelong relationship, and so they're showing up together. I think what Jill's done in her life is allowed her made unconventional decisions for her child that were for her child, not for what the world said you must do with your child, or and she and because of that, they've he's doing what he loves every day, surfing the world, surfing the best waves, and he's just so talented. So super excited. His sister, Gina Marzo, was our intern this year, our social media intern. So it was a real family affair. It's been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Tremendous. Okay, so they're going to be there. Who else?
Yeah. So this year we gave, we passed the baton to David Finch for the master ceremonies. And, he's a dear friend of mine, and he just watched the anxiety that doing this role created in me. Wow. And he said, you know what, I'm going to take that next year. And I'm going to make it comedy gold. And I thought,
wonderful.
Yeah, let's do that. And so he's going to come and do that. We've got a ton of musical presentations. Noah Cummins is a acoustic guitarist, singer located in Nashville, and he's going to be presenting he's going to be performing some of his songs, some other kind of more known favorites and that sort of thing. We've got a bunch of young talent coming in.
We've got a couture designer,
Michael Ryan Andelsek.
We've had him on the show.
Yeah, he's adorable. Isn't he the nicest guy in the world?
Can I say that I don't know if I told you this, but one of our favorite people here, Sue Cho, she just recently got married, and I talked to her about him being on the show. He designed her wedding.
Oh, he did?
He did,
oh
and
my
it's
gosh.
gorgeous. And they're now friends, and so at some point we need to have them both on the show and show her wedding dress.
Right.
He is just so
Isn't he
heart-centered.
lovely?
I found him, and I fell in love with him just by watching his YouTube videos,
Right.
And then looking at his clothing and just his social
designs are
mission
gorgeous.
in terms of hiring autistic people. From the ground up all the way to designing, marketing all the materials. I love that. And I also love that he's using his sensory experiences, how he experiences the world, to guide his designs.
Yeah.
And so often in, I think, our community, we're talking about sensory as a dysfunction or as a really negative thing.
Right.
And so he's showing us how to tune in and connect with these experiences and possibly make them part of who you are and how you earn a living, I guess.
Yeah. He's amazing.
He's cool.
I can't wait to show you pictures of the wedding gown. She's somebody that would need a wedding gown that didn't look like anybody else's wedding gown, and it is stunning what he did, and it is so her.
Well, and then speaking of weddings, the Alex Generous and her new hubby,
Right.
Roy Lancaster, are coming in and talking about newlyweds and how they manage their neurodivergent, neurologically mixed relationship. And she's just delightful too. She's funny and just kind of talks off the cuff, and I just really adore her. I've not met her husband yet, so I'm really excited to see them.
Is one of them on the spectrum? One isn't?
Alex Generous is on the spectrum, and she has her TED Talk has been viewed millions of times. It's one of, really, there's only a few autistic people that have been represented on the TED stage, and she's one of them. So, check that out. She's got a cute little talk.
And who is disability rights activist Melanie Yurgo?
Yurgo. So she is a professor, and she just authored a book. What is it? Authoring Autism. Oh gosh. Oh man, I'm gonna botch the book.
It's okay.
Look her up. She's one of those people that is insanely intelligent. You know, I find myself to be decently smart. I started reading her book, and it's about how language is important, what we write, what we say about autism matters, and it shapes not only the autistic person's identity, but it shapes how the world interacts. And I think that, you guys were just showing that video, that beautiful video of the world interacting in a way, showing up with kindness and humanity. And that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And I think that she's taking a real academic viewpoint of this and helping us even look at how the literature, the scientific literature can demean. And she'll be unpacking that and doing it in a really neat way. So I'm really excited about her, as well as Monique Giwa-Anawa. And she is the editor of the anthology Racialized Autism. And so she is a person of color, a mom. One of her children is neurodivergent. She's autistic herself. She's a human rights activist. Her bio is so extensive. She's done so many cool things. And this book that she put together, I think it's, I don't know of another one like this. It's an anthology, a collection of pieces by people of color that are also autistic, and talking about the intersection through poetry.
That's rarely talked about. That's an interesting
and what she'll talk about is that it matters.
Yeah.
Race is everything when talking about autism, and there's a huge disparity in services, treatment, identity, and community understanding related to that. So she'll be bringing in all that with her.
Powerful.
Yeah, she's a pretty dynamic woman who's really changing the world. So she's cool, and her book's great. Lots of great pieces in there.
So again, October 13th, and where do people go to begin to register and make sure that they are able to come?
loveandautism.com, so and spelled out A-N-D. And we have a lot of guidance there in terms of funding. We love people to find funding.
It's funded by the regional center.
It is funded by the regional center. Each regional center, as we know, does things a little differently. So we get on the phone with case coordinators all the time and help them get that POS in for the stipend. Some cover it fully, some give a stipend. Our San Diego Regional Center gives a $200 stipend. If you get in under early bird and you're a member, that leaves you with a $15.
Which is amazing.
Which is amazing.
To be able to take advantage
So,
of
but
all
for
that.
people who don't live in California and don't have the California, they can still come.
Absolutely.
They just would need to look for other funding besides the regional center if they want to defray
And
costs.
honestly, if somebody found funding that I don't know about, I'd love to hear about it so I could spread the word and help other people get here. And we've actually lowered our costs this year. We're trying to make this event that people can continue to return to, that people can make it. Bring their family members. We have so many young people that come.
Yeah, you said, do you have a teen track now?
We have a teen track
called You Belong.
It went lovely. Last year was our first year, and Daniel Wendler and his best friend Kyle. Love him. They're speaking this year. I was like, you guys are on the main stage talking about your friendship. Kyler Shemway, they ran it, and it was beautiful. I had noticed that a lot of teens were coming as young as 12 and 11 were showing up at the conference, and at the end of the day, they were like playing on their phones in the back, and I was
Right.
like, oh man, I could do this better and different.
Right.
So we have this really fun and engaging, it's a full 2-day track, and it's just small group, and we have a lot of return people, so we know it went well, and yeah, they did a great job.
So we want to mention that you have 100% autistic representation on the main stage and 50% autistic women speakers as an indication that autism is not a male diagnosis.
Yes. I didn't even know it was going to be the year of the woman when
Right.
we set this up,
Right.
and
You
I
felt
just
it in
I
your bones.
felt it, and I thought, you know what, females are so misunderstood. They have late diagnosis. They get a personality disorder or a bipolar diagnosis, or just she's emotional dramatic,
Right.
or it's you and mom daughter stuff,
Right.
and it's spectrum stuff. And so we invited a lot of really talented, successful women to share their narratives and guide us a little bit on what this means. A lot of them are mothers, and I think that moms really give us another layer of what it means to be autistic and what it means to raise an autistic child.
Right.
And so I think there's going to be a lot of kind of like rich experiences there. And then, it just felt, I don't know if we tried to do 100% autistic representation. It just happened to be. And then when it started to get close to that, we were like, this is us. This is So Love and Autism to... we've been saying autistic people should be the ones talking about what it means to be autistic. I will never know this neurology. I can listen, learn, and dive deep into it, but I won't have this experience in my life. And so, this year we have a great representation, and each act has somebody on the spectrum.
Love it.
Yeah, leading us.
Last week I was up in the Pacific Northwest and meeting with a lot of families, and I had my son with me who's 15, and it was kind of amazing because as we would meet and I would talk, and then I would bring him out, and then they would ask him questions, and we actually took a show up there and did all this, and at the end everybody would say to me, well, Shannon, it was great meeting you, and I loved having an opportunity to talk to you, loved seeing your show, but the best part was meeting your son. And they would say, where can I meet more people that are older on the spectrum? And one of the things I said was, go to the Autism and Love conference. You will see a very positive group of people of all different, everything,
Different
race,
struggles and strengths,
different sexual orientations, different religions, but on the spectrum, and you will see the big, beautiful spectrum there. And so, I'd
what
actually
it's done for me as a clinician is in knowing more autistic adults and really knowing them. It just massages any worry. When my anxiety, a child is going through something significant, hard, and everybody's worried. And then I kind of think about wait, hold on.
Yeah.
People change, people grow.
Yep.
This is what childhood is about, and if we can nurture people in love and let him or her know that they're worthy and lovable just as they are, and have autistic role models for their parents, for themselves, we're in a better place. I mean, I personally feel like everybody needs neurodivergent role models. My children play Legos. They wanted me to say hi. Hi, Ollie. Hi, Grace. They play Legos, and they play Clay Marzo and Gino Marzo doing tow-ins and surfers. And I was like, you know what? This is so fabulous to have a diversity in role models.
Right.
We all need that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, so again, the website?
Yes.
What is it?
Loveandautism.com.
Fabulous.
We encourage you all to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being
Thanks
with
for
us.
being with
Thank
us,
you for
Jenny.
having me again.
Okay.
It's fun.
Always,
great
always
conference.
enjoyed to have you here. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we have Brenda Smith-Miles who's going to be joining us, so stick with us.
Nobody ever asks a kid with autism, what is it you'd really like to do? At this school, we ask the kids, what is your goal? What is your dream? Exceptional Minds is a vocational training program for young adults on the autism spectrum who want to have careers in computer animation and visual effects. I think young people with autism are totally underestimated.
When you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. They all have different talents, different skills, and what surprised me is that there really are no limits, that if these guys believe that they can do something, they really can.
It's estimated that 90 to 95% of young adults with autism are unemployed or underemployed.
A lot of young adults still live at home. A lot of them suffer from depression and are very isolated from the rest of the world, and the opportunities for them are very limited.
We want to develop careers for our young adults. Our full-time program runs 3 years, at the end of which we have job placement and job coaching. We have a work readiness program. We also have our own in-house studio so that when our students graduate, they can do on-the-job training and work on real projects.
We outsourced about 30-40 shots to the team here. They did fantastic work that we can put into a movie and be proud of it. It's great. I mean, we want to do it again.
The studio is their first step into the professional world, the first step in their new careers as digital artists.
The whole purpose is to get the students out into the real world.
We all have the same dreams. We want significance, dignity, and purpose with our lives. We have an opportunity to give those 3 words to every single student at this school who will actually be able to go out and participate in the dream.
This is my first full-time, full-paying job. I primarily work in After Effects. I learned After Effects at Exceptional Minds. It seemed like a good place for me to fit in because I was interested in animation.
Right from the first day that Nicky set foot in our company, he was producing work for us. We saw what level of professionalism is being instilled in them from the very beginning.
This was the first opportunity where Nicky could combine something he loved to do with something he was really, really good at that could eventually lead to employment.
When we first met Kevin, he was working at a supermarket bagging groceries, and they said he would never amount to anything else.
I work at Stargate Studios, and I'm a junior compositor. I mainly do like rotoscoping right now, and I'm still learning.
I think that you find great talent in the most amazing places. The students at Exceptional Minds have had a fair amount of training to get them ready for the visual effects environment.
If it wasn't for Exceptional Minds, I might still be at the supermarket, and I might be living at my parents' house.
Everything's changed. Nicky has purpose.
It feels like I'm a member of society now.
He's capable of making it on his own.
Once you get inside and you see what's really happening there, you immediately want to be a part of it.
It's the dream factory, you know, the movie business, and if you can connect people with their dreams, then the magic happens.
At Exceptional Minds, we like to say that we are changing lives one frame at a time.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas, spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
And welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And now we have our guest, Brenda Smith-Miles, PhD. Brenda is president of AAPC Publishing, which is a small niche company that publishes books on autism spectrum disorder. We've had some of her authors here on the show.
And really
welcome to the show, Brenda.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, and Brenda is rather prolific. Her bio is several pages here, but I just want to mention that she's written over 2,000 articles on ASD as well as 200 books. Anything else you'd like to tell us about your background, Brenda, before we get started?
No, I think that might just set the stage.
Okay, yeah. That's what I call prolific.
Incredible.
Now, we wanted to talk to you today about an article that you have written about the cycle of tantrums, rage, and meltdowns in children and youth with ASD, because that's something that's a particular interest to our families.
Pretty much everybody has experienced this at some point, and nothing can take the wind out of your sails faster than a meltdown, because after that, then you live in fear of it happening again. You live in fear of it happening at the worst possible moment. So we love having you here to talk about this exact subject.
Yes, and we want to know, how common is this with our population of kids with ASD?
At least 50% of autistic individuals experience meltdowns, if not more. And one of the things that is particularly tragic is that if we do not intervene, those meltdowns will keep on happening.
Absolutely. And so let's start to unlock this. Why do meltdowns occur?
Okay, well, meltdowns occur because of neurological reasons. Sometimes people like to think that the behavior is purposeful, but there's a firm base of literature that shows us that there's underactivity in the parts of the brain in charge of self-regulation, which means that for our individuals with autism, they don't automatically know how to detect how they are feeling. They don't know how to match an emotion to event, and they don't know how to calm down once they experience a meltdown.
So
the important. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Keep going. I interrupted you.
The important thing is that the meltdowns are not purposeful behavior. It is the only behavior the individual has in their repertoire at that period of time.
It's like a desperate thing,
Okay.
and we see that.
So tell us what the cycle of the meltdown looks like. You have a cycle that you have identified with different stages. Can you talk about that?
Well, there are 3 stages. There's the rumbling stage is the first. The second is called the rage stage, and the third stage is called the recovery stage. The most important part of these particular stages is the rumbling stage, and you may have seen our individuals rumble, meaning that they may engage in small behaviors that indicate that a large behavior is likely to occur later. So, for example, you may see a child indicating that they are becoming upset by drumming their fingers or pulling on their eyebrows or pacing back and forth, biting on their cuffs. Quite often at this stage, the behaviors are really seem minor, and unless you're attuned to them, you can overlook them easily. And what we need to be is very much in tune to what is happening so that we can intervene and stop that meltdown at that point.
Well, that brings up a really important point. Once we start to be able to identify those, what can we do at each stage to help to take the fuse out of this?
Okay, well, during that first stage, the rumbling stage, the goal is to distract the individual.
Okay.
Because if you can distract them, then you can begin to calm down. What you're not going to do at this level is to teach a new skill. Because the minute the individual begins to rumble, what I say is all opportunities for learning are gone. So if you see your child or your student, perhaps their rumbling behavior is, scratching their head. And if that is the case, then what you might do is send that child on an errand.
Because that's the distraction.
Yes, it could be that maybe you engage that child in a discussion about his special interest on, flags of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that you offer the child or direct the child to a break.
Okay, we refer to this as antiseptic bouncing. Is that what it's called?
Okay, great. Antiseptic bouncing is exactly one of those terms that means to intervene and remove the child from the situation in a non-punitive way. And so if I send the child to run an errand, I'm engaging in antiseptic bouncing for that student.
And what is proximity control?
Well, some of our students feel very comfortable when we stand next to them, and you've probably experienced this with a child who is rumbling, maybe pulling on his lip, and you go stand next to that individual, and they can see that, okay, you are there to support them, and you can see sometimes their bodies immediately relax.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing.
Now, the thing is with these interventions, not all of these interventions will work with all children who have autism, and so you have to match each one of those interventions to the individual child.
Okay, so that's rumbling. What about the other stages? What can we be doing?
Okay. Well, the rage stage is when that child actually has that meltdown and engages in those big overt behaviors, or it could be withdrawal. And at that point in time, what you largely want to do is, if you can get that child safely out of that environment, that is a great thing to do. However, many of our kids at that stage just need to have that meltdown in the spot they're in. And so what we need to do is to protect that student, to make sure that he does not hurt himself. If there's others in the environment, we need to have a plan in place. And so if we're talking about school, it might be that we have a plan and we've practiced with the other students in the class given, and they go to the library. And what happens is the teacher can stay with our student and help him calm down from that rage cycle. I'm a big fan, however, of making sure that our teachers who support our kids with autism, even though I do not support restraint, because sometimes what that does is that will increase that behavior during the rage cycle, is to make sure the teachers are trained in restraint, because what we don't want is a teacher who is a bit reticent, who hasn't been trained, to reach in and physically try to redirect that child. The child could get hurt, or the adult could get hurt.
And in fact, frequently that is what happens, is that the adult doesn't know what to do and the adult gets hurt. And what I hate is that gets pinned on the child. And it becomes such a huge problem when, in fact, if we gave proper training to the teacher to know how to diffuse or how to stand, and there are specific stances and specific ways to hold your arms so that you prevent yourself from being hurt, which protects the child. And it's so difficult to convince schools of this, but it's the truth.
Well, I developed something called the Student Crisis Plan Sheet, which takes each one of those three stages and talks about the behaviors that you are likely to see and the interventions that go along with each stage. Because we need to approach this like, an educational problem, and make sure that we have strategies. The teacher needs to know, as you said, where to stand, what to do, what to say, what not to say. You need to have a plan in place of what happens if there's other people in the environment. Do you need help? How do you get it? If a child has, any likelihood of having a meltdown, this needs to be discussed seriously and have a plan in place. And then further, we need to make sure that the child himself or herself knows that we do not blame the child for that behavior, that it is neurologically based, but we also recognize that we can teach that child, and that child can learn to regulate their behavior with our support.
Yeah, the last stage we didn't mention, which is the recovery stage.
Now, the recovery stage is the stage where that meltdown behavior has stopped. And the child may look like he's back to his typical self, but he is not. Generally, our students at the recovery stage will need some time to get back to their typical self. But while this is happening, generally they like to get right back into the schedule. As you know, our children, adolescents, and adults love routine. And so if our child has a meltdown and gets to the recovery stage and it's math time, most likely he will want to participate in the routine of math. But because he is so fragile at that point, I recommend that teachers will have a folder, kind of a plan B folder, if you will, that has work the individual can do, so that if the teacher's planning on introducing new concepts, that child can work on information that he already knows, because it won't be as cognitively draining. Also at that recovery stage, you're going to want to maintain your distance. Quite often, adults, when a child has a meltdown, they want to hover over that individual with the best of intentions to make sure that they are okay. And for many of our individuals, they might misperceive this, and this might make the child more uncomfortable and lead to another meltdown.
Okay.
During this stage also, there's no reason to refer to the meltdown.
It's such a salient point.
Yes.
We're running out of time, and so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the book that people should get that will give them more information about this.
Okay, well, the book is called High Functioning Autism and Difficult Moments, Practical Solutions for Meltdowns.
It's lovely.
And it outlines each of the 3 stages. It explains why the meltdowns occur, and then offers instructional strategies to teach the child how not to melt down.
And where can they get this book?
Well, they can get it from Amazon.com, or they can get it at the AAPC website at www.aapcpublishing.net.
Spectacular. And this is not the only book that you have out right now. You've got another book. Tell us about that.
Well, I have a brand new book out. It's called Excelling with Autism, and it looks at the challenges that we are having in helping individuals with autism reach their potential. And it takes the elements of deliberate practice, which is what we use to teach high-performing people, whether they are mathematicians or artists or pianists, and it tells you how to take that science of deliberate practice and apply it to individuals with autism so that they can meet their potential.
Absolutely
great.
love it. I want to thank you so much for being with us. This has been so educational.
Yes.
Really lovely. And we thank you for all the work that you're doing personally and all the work that you're doing in publishing, because
Right. As we said, we've had some of your authors on and we've been
lovely.
enjoying them.